Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another awesome episode of On the Throttle with Jacqui Van Ham and my buddy Josh Trokey, bringing you all of the newest news going on out here in the world of power sports. Josh and I were just talking before the program, before we clicked on this camera, and we both are in agreement that if the power sports dealer cares about it, we are going to cover it here on the show. Welcome back, everybody, to another great episode. As always, thanks for clicking, liking, and sharing. Thanks for tuning in. Great to have you all back. We have got a great episode for you today. In my neck of the woods, what do I have going on? Well, the company Argo wants to know if Bigfoot and Sasquatch are actually real, and Ed Morse is making moves in our dealership news. Josh, what do you got going on in your neck of the woods?
So I often like to get lost. In fact, that's usually the goal when I go out on the motorcycle, but sometimes I usually like to come home also. So I've got a new way to do that. And then the second thing is we are going to talk about a certain company that figured that it would be a good idea to update the anvil, which sounds weird, but we'll get into that. But first, I would like to give you a message from this week's sponsor, which is Pengrade One. For all of your motorcycle, ATV, and UTV oil requirements, be sure to run Pengrade One. The unique base oil cut utilized in the original green oil and the enhanced levels of anti-wear additives provide strong protection while reducing internal friction for increased horsepower output under the most demanding conditions. Pengrade One is proud to be made in the USA. And the USA, I believe, is where the Sasquatch is, right? Is that where they're finding this here, Jacqui? I'm curious. You've got my curiosity.
Bigfoot.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, the company Argo has decided to let everybody know once and for all that Bigfoot and Sasquatch are indeed real. Josh, today's story I ripped from our very own website, motorcyclepowersportsnews.com, because this caught my eye and blew my mind. This is like a Hot Wheels AI fever dream all rolled up in one. Look at this incredible machine on your screen right now. This is the Argo Sasquatch. This just I could not believe this. I could not believe this was real. I checked the date. I'm like, is this April 1st? It is a real thing. And check out this incredible commercial vehicle from the folks over at Argo. Argo commits to the commercial market. The launch of the Sasquatch and new regional sales manager opportunities confirms its commitment. Argo recently announced its commitment to servicing the off-road commercial market in many big ways. In the years leading up to this announcement, Argo has been in development of many exciting products that are to be built out of its North American factory. The launch of the all-new Sasquatch is a first of many new releases that are positioned to give the off-road commercial market what it's been missing. In addition to new products, Argo is continuing to develop its commercial-specific division, incorporating industry veterans and improvements in its North American facilities. In recent weeks, the Argo community and industry enthusiasts have closely followed weekly sightings of the all-new North American-built amphibious XTV, the Argo Sasquatch XTX, positioned as a true testament to Argo's commitment to the off-road commercial market. The Sasquatch enters the global market of premier earth crawlers, touting the latest in off-road technology advancements and interior comforts. With Argo's release of the sixth and final Sasquatch sighting earlier this week, the excitement continues to build as this allegorical wonder continues to take shape. So this I thought was really fascinating. We've got a couple more slides coming up as well. Some of their other incredible vehicles that are going on over at the folks over at Argo. Again, this is their commercial side products. They do have a consumer side as well, but I thought these were so cool and so interesting that I wanted to go ahead and chat about them a little bit, including look at this Centaur XT. These are so I mean, this just blows my mind. The wheels, the design, everything. Again, I couldn't decide at first if this was even real or if this was AI because they're so futuristic and they're so like Hot Wheels inspired looking. But indeed, guys and gals, these are actually very, very real. They also do happen to come with a very, very real price tag, by the way. Those eight-wheelers that were just on the screen a minute ago started around 29,000. They go up to 35 grand. The Centaur XT does not have a price tag on it, unfortunately. And they also make unmanned vehicles as well for strictly commercial use. Again, this are the folks over at Argo. I thought this was just a really fascinating company with really fascinating products, and they're made in the North America market. So I thought that was very cool, and I wanted to go ahead and give them a little bit of a shout out today. Josh, what do you think about Argo and this awesome Sasquatch?
So, I mean, to me, these are, especially with them being commercial, I mean, they are aimed square at that. When I looked at some of the specs on this, especially the Sasquatch and the Centaur, like the Centaur has seating up for up to 8 people. And you can take eight
Yeah.
people, land, sea. Obviously, it doesn't go in the air well, but there are some great specs on this
Well,
too.
not on
That
purpose
so
anyway. Not on purpose.
Correct. Correct. So those wheel covers that you see right there are actually added fuel tanks that you can take extra fuel along. This uses a 3-cylinder Doosan diesel, and those 3-cylinder diesels I mean, they'll be like DRZs and Ford inline sixes. They will be running well after the apocalypse. On top of that, when you
Yeah.
look at how the drivetrain's designed in this, it is a oil bath chain drive. I mean, it doesn't get a whole heck of a lot more durable than that. There's hydraulic slipper clutches in order for steering. I mean, this is, like I said, these are going to exist long after the apocalypse. And
Yeah.
there's commercial people that'll still find a way to destroy them. I get that, but they're going to have to try.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, this is the ultimate apocalypse zombie bug out vehicle. I think they're just very cool. And then also, just to reiterate it again, these are their commercial vehicles. They do make consumer facing products as well, really cool little 4-wheelers as well. But Argo Centaur, Argo Sasquatch, all of these mystery machines, very cool out here. Josh, what do you got going on for your first story?
So let's say you need to get somewhere in your Sasquatch or Centaur and you don't know how to get there. Well, Garmin has now updated the zūmo XT, and it is now the zūmo XT2 GPS module. The current XT needs a cell phone for visual route planning. One of the things, and that's something that people have always been kind of, I guess I would say, irritated with. The XT2 now has it built into the software that you don't need to have a phone in order to do some of the visual route planning. You can download satellite imaging to it like you see here from the phone. Some of the other things that Garmin built into this, it is now slightly bigger. It is 6 inches across. That added 15% more display, not 15 inches more display. It's not this big. Um, the other thing is they made the screen brighter. Now, I personally have an XT, the original XT. The screen's bright, but when you get sunlight over your back and a little bit of dust on the screen, you're occasionally wiping and trying to figure out where you're going. The Garmin Adventurous mode is back and with various levels on it, including some unpaved roads, which is great for that. One of the other cool things that they did with this now has rider-to-rider connectivity. So what you can do is you could basically list a few of your friends. I wouldn't have any friends, so this isn't an option for me. But it will actually track them on GPS. So let's say you get split up at a traffic light, or you have to stop for a snack. That's my big issue. I stop for a snack. I can look to see how far ahead people are, how long it's going to take me to catch them, what route they're taking. It lets me see that all on the GPS. Now, that does use cell phone connection in order to do that. So it basically pings those types of things, and I believe it goes through text message. It will also work through the Tread app, and if you're using the Garmin satellite trackers, it will do that. But that's a lot of data, and from everything that I've read, that gets pretty expensive pretty quick. Internally, you've got up to 32 gigabytes of storage. You can add another 256 gigabytes with a card, so that way if you want most of the planet on your Garmin, you can have that. You can, like I said, add the satellite images via download. It is Bluetooth compatible too, so that way if you've got some sort of communicator, be it a Sena or a Cardo or something like that, it will work with those and put the turn-by-turn directions in your ears. It's all pretty much very close to the price of the original XT before. We are at $599. Garmin, I would love to test one of these out. I do enjoy my XT. There are some quirks to it, but I'd love to see how this has been taken care of in the XT2. From everything that I'm seeing, it seems like a great unit. I am excited to get my hands on one here soon. And to track the friends that I don't have. Jacqui, now would you, because you have friends, would you use the friends tracking features? So if you get separated at a traffic light?
Yeah, I thought that was a really really interesting
Yeah,
feature to update this GPS unit. Yeah, like you said, I don't really keep too much of an eye out for GPS anymore, so it really has to have some extra bells and whistles for me to pay attention to it. So I like that they're stepping up their game a little bit over at Garmin.
for
They're
sure.
adding some things that people are needing and people are looking for. I of course would use these with the Bluetooth with the comm system because that's how I roll. I do happen to have friends, so I like the fact that you could also pair it to your buddies and track them down. Josh, maybe there'll be another upgraded software where it actually like helps you find or make friends. Maybe that's coming from the folks over at
There's no
Garmin
helping
as
me.
well. We'll all have to wait and see. You know, out here in the viewing audience, the minute that news breaks, I'll be bringing it to you here on the program. The news being that Josh finds a friend. Anyway, so for
Right.
my second story for today, I wanted to chat about a little bit of dealership breaking news that caught my eye. And there's a reason why. It's part of a much, much bigger picture that also caught my eye a handful of weeks ago when we were doing a show talking about Daytona Bike Week. As always, you can watch all of our previous shows. They live out here on the internet forever, out on the YouTube page or on our Facebook page as well. You can go track those down. And I was talking about things to do in Daytona for Bike Week. And of course, I could not talk about a dealership that I know from the Wayback Machine as Bruce Rossmeyer's Destination Daytona. And this whole year, when I was kind of looking up, doing a little bit of recon, the name had changed. And I was like, did Rossmeyer's close? Like, what happened to this legacy dealership? Well, this is where the story kicks off for me. They were purchased by an automotive group called Teddy Morse, or actually Ed Morse to be more specific, Ed Morse Automotive Group, which was founded in the Wayback Machine. It is now a third generation automotive dealership group that has been snapping up motorcycle dealerships as well. And I thought this was really fascinating because again, the connection to the Daytona dealership is embedded in this story. So let's go ahead and jump on in and hear what's going on with this automotive group, Ed Morse. The Ed Morse Automotive Group has announced acquisition of Sellers-Sexton Powersports in St. Robert, Missouri. The automotive group now has 3 locations in St. Robert, 2 in Lebanon, and 1 in Rolla, Missouri. Ed Morse Automotive Group purchased the dealership from Sellers-Sexton Group and is located Memorial Drive in St. Robert. Like I mentioned, the dealership provides Honda on-road and off-road motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-side, scooter generators, power, equipment, apparel, and accessories. The Ed Morse Automotive Group is headquartered in Delray Beach, Florida, and has been family owned for over 75 years. This acquisition will add 8 employees to its over 2,000 plus employee base, growing their locations to 36 dealerships, 76 franchises, and 25 automotive and motorcycle brands. Again, this is now going on its 3rd generation. Ed Morse was founded many years ago, again by the grandfather. Teddy Morse is now who is at the head of Teddy Morse Daytona Harley Davidson, which, like I mentioned, was purchased really recently, hence the big name change. There it is, Teddy Morse's Daytona Harley Davidson. So this is what caught my eye because I was like, well, these have to be connected somehow. The name Teddy Morse and Ed Morse, that can't just be a fluke. So I had to jump in and figure out a little bit more of what's going on with this story. As you just heard, they now are very wide. They're based out of Florida, but have snapped up all sorts of brands, all sorts of products, and are starting to kind of consolidate under this big Ed Morse Automotive Group umbrella. So what does that mean for all of us out here? Well, a couple of different things, which I think is kind of interesting. I thought that it was interesting that now it kind of keeps everything at a level playing field because the more they purchase these groups, everything kind of levels out. They also have the potential of getting the best prices because that is why a lot of these businesses start kind of grouping up together, is that way they have more buying power from the actual apparel manufacturers or from the OEMs. So I thought that that was kind of an interesting story. And again, with that being the tie-in to the Harley Davidson dealership, which I keep mentioning because it is a heck of a dealership in Ormond Beach. I don't want the name fool you. This is not in Daytona. This is about 15 minutes north, and it is a heck of a good time and a massive dealership up there. You should be putting that on your list if you're headed to Daytona anytime soon. That's why I want to talk about it a little bit today. today and give it a little bit of a shout out. Josh, what do you think about this news about these automotive groups consolidating and snapping up motorcycle dealerships? I'm seeing this becoming more and more commonplace out here.
It's interesting because to me, from a business perspective, it makes sense. There are, on the business side of things, a lot of parallels. You've got salespeople, you've got finance managers, you've got service departments, you've got parts departments. So there's a lot of areas where it does make sense from the business side. Now, we both know, obviously, the people that walk into a car dealership and the people that walk into any sort of a power sports dealership, they're very different clients. They're very different customers for the most part in terms of how they work. So it's interesting for them to take and try and merge some of the back office stuff and see if it can work with some of the front office stuff. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. We're seeing consolidation all over, whether it be in power sports dealerships, car dealerships, or even with, I've got a bit of an ag background, even ag dealerships are kind of consolidating like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. We love the mom and pop shop. We also love the fact that we can see some of this consolidation help some buyers in the long run. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all comes out in the wash.
Definitely. And they do make a big point of pointing out that their company culture, they really lean into the fact that they are a family owned company. They've been around a long time. They've grown. Obviously, they've expanded and grown, but they really lean into the fact that they are still basically not mom and pop per se, but grandfather, father, and son own driven
Yeah.
businesses. So that is what's going on out here in dealership news for this week. And Josh, what do you got going on in your neck of the woods?
So there's something, like I said, I referred to, do you an update an anvil? Because the anvil's been the same for, yeah, long time. So Honda has done just that. Honda has given the Trail 125 a couple of updates. And other than the color you see here, some of them might be kind of interesting to many of you. So the color here, this is the obvious one. It is now pearl organic green instead of the bright red that they had. You guys know me, I'm going to prefer the red, but I still think that this is a sharp color. So the engine is where the main updates have happened. It is still 124 cc's, but the bore is now 2.4 millimeters smaller. It's down to 50 millimeter. The stroke is up 5.2 millimeters to now 63.1 millimeters. So typically when you change bore and stroke, you're looking for changing what RPM range this is going to be operating in. Longer stroke typically means more torque because you're looking at that burn longer. So, but with this, I mean, it's a 125cc four-stroke. It's never exactly going to be a torque monster. So there's some speculation out there as to why Honda's done this, whether it's been A, for reliability, although you do end up with some different piston speeds because of that. B, is it to get some heat down? Or C, is it for emissions? When you've got a smaller bore, obviously that's less sealing surface you have to deal with. So that's less of a chance for blow-by. So that is one obviously distinct possibility in there. And it's coupled with some fuel injection changes on it also. So that is probably where we're going to see some of this. Now, they did want to up the performance a little bit. So compression is now up to 10, up from 9.3 to 1. So that to me is another interesting little tidbit. They did raise the compression. I'm sure that's probably just a byproduct of the stroke. I'm pretty sure the cylinder head's going to remain fairly close to the same. Be interesting to see with that. I'd love to hear back from Honda on that to see what they've got from it. In this, like I said, there is a brand new fuel injection system on it. For the most part, the rest of the motorcycle is exactly the same because, once again, why change an anvil? These things, I mean, it's coming up on almost 50 years. Like, this type of bike has been around. I'm glad Honda brought it back. And now it's still got the ABS available up front, and it comes standard in some countries. It's 17-inch wheels. It's low seat height. It's step through. It's got a ginormous rack that you could put even my groceries on, and it's all for just under $4,000. What is not to love? Honda, I'm
Yeah.
curious as to why we changed it, but to me, like I said, I'm leaning towards the fact that it's probably an emissions change more than anything else, because these little engines are tough to get in under emissions when you look at how they operate. Overall, I mean, I know you're a big fan of this bike too, Jacqui. Red or green?
I'm gonna be red on that one. I think the green is really
Me?
dope, and then there was like a limited color overseas that was like a tan color that was very, very cool. Yeah, I love this trail. We talked a little bit before we kicked off the
Yeah.
program today about this bike. This 125 engine has just been such a flagship for this retro
Yes.
revival Honda series. They've been using this
Put
for
it in
what, eight
everything.
some odd years now, putting it in everything, selling out everything. It has just been an absolute slam dunk for them. So it really blows my mind that they would go ahead and dig into it and start monkeying around, pun intended, because they also make the monkey. They
Wow.
start monkeying around with the bore and stroke, bore and
I feel
stroke,
threatened.
and piston. And I know you should. And piston size. I think that that's really kind of a strange choice, as well as an unnecessary expense. The only thing I can think is I'm going to have to agree with you. This must be an emissions play. This must be. I don't
Yeah.
know why on earth else they would change it. And then if they're are they going to recast and redo the heads on these as well? No way, man. No way. That is a ton of money to get into these things to change these around. I'm guessing that's what's going on with this. But we're all going to have to wait and see. Maybe we'll hear back from Honda. They'll go a little bit deeper into a press release about it. But we are going to go ahead and speculate that it must have something to do with emissions. As we know,
Yep.
globally, emissions are starting to crack down and get tighter and tighter and tighter. We're seeing certain machines be absolutely phased out, like now or yesterday, because they could not keep up with emissions, or they have to go through an entire refresh and change and re-engineering in order to hit emissions going forward.
Right.
So that's my guess. That's what I think it must be. The higher compression though number, that's kind of titillating. A little bit more compression out of that bike. That's kind of fun.
A
Seeing as
little
it
more
weighs
squeeze for
27
some
pounds.
more oomph.
Yeah, I'll give it. That's exciting. I like that. I wouldn't hate if one of these showed up at my house to test ride. Also,
Same.
not that
Same.
who needs it? I don't know who needs to test ride a 125cc bike, but I'm down for it, man. I'm
I
here.
do.
Anyway, that Josh and I both do. We're gonna have to keep looking under our Christmas tree for that one. So anyway, another great show for you as always here on the program. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we will see you next week.